Alright, in this episode we're going to be looking at the loop settings in VirtualDJ. These settings control how loops are created, where they start, how they move, and also what happens when you use beat jump. So the first option that you're going to see here is loopback mode. There's three options: no, yes, and smart. This represents where the loop starts relative to the playhead, or where the track is playing currently. And some people assume that this changes when you exit a loop, but it doesn't. It changes where the loop is placed when you create one. So if I have it set on no, the loop begins where your playhead is currently. So for example, if I'm right here and I press the 4-beat loop button, VirtualDJ loops the next 4 beats. So the beats that are in front right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you have loopback mode set to yes, VirtualDJ creates the loop behind your playhead. So the playhead becomes the end of the loop. So for example, if I hit the loop button here again, it's going to create a loop that is 4 bars behind where my playhead was. So let me show you that again. I'm going to click the loop button, turn it off. I'm going to set the song to be playing right here, and I'm going to hit 4-bar loop, and it's going to go back 4 bars instead of forward. That's what happens when you have loopback mode on. The other loopback mode is smart. And whenever you have this enabled, when the song is paused, it behaves like no. But when the song is playing, it behaves like yes. So that means you can instantly capture what you just played without having to be perfectly early pressing the loop button. And let me show you a little demonstration. So here we are, and my track is currently paused. So I'm going to create a 4-bar loop, and it's creating a loop 4 beats ahead of where my playhead was, which is exactly like when you have it on no. So now if I play the track and I create a 4-bar loop, it went back instead of forward. So let me show you that again. We're going to press play, and it's going to go back 4 bars instead of forward, which is exactly what happens when you have loopback mode on yes. So my recommendation is, it's really up to your own personal choice. Smart is a good option. However, it has given me issues in the past because I feel like I have more control over the loopback mode if I leave it on no. However, smart mode is a great option, and it's really forgiving during live performances. The next setting is loop auto move. And this is just basically explaining how it's going to move the loop once the loop is created. So with this off, the loop is going to stay exactly where it was when you created it. For example, this is my 4-bar loop, and if I set it here, it's going to stay there. Now, if I change this loop auto move to yes, what's going to happen is as the song is playing and it continues, the loop automatically follows along with the music. Think of it almost as like moving a bookmark of a section of a song. So let's show you an example. I'm going to click play on this track. I'm going to hit the loop button. And then I'm going to jump to a totally different part of the track, hitting this hotkey 1. And as you can see, it kept the same loop that I had just set in the other portion of the song, 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. And it basically just kept that same loop playing, even though I jumped to a different part of the track. So if I jump to this part of the track, it's just going to keep that 4-bar loop going. Whereas if I had that option set on no, it wouldn't have that loop. So for example, if I go back and I click loop auto move to no, click apply setting, I press play on this track, I go back to Q1, it doesn't have the loop. If that makes sense, right? So we have a loop playing now, but if I go to the separate part of the song, it doesn't have the loop included. The loop is not there. All right, so that is loop auto move. Honestly, I just leave this setting on no. And to be honest, I don't really know when someone would use this. I think it's more for like creative mixing and live performance kind of stuff. But for me as a wedding DJ or club DJ, I definitely just leave this on no because I don't really see the need for it. This next option is loop default, and it's just gonna basically give you your default loop size. You notice that there was two options there. There was 4 and 8. And that's basically because it was tracking both decks separately. All right, so if I go back into my settings here, my default is 4 bars and 8 bars. So this one is pretty simple. So whenever you press the loop button, it's going to be choosing the size of the loop. And basically VirtualDJ is just going to go with whatever you selected there. So here's my loop button. It's on 4 bars currently. If I click the loop button, it's going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to do 4 beats. If I click this button here, it's going to make it 8 bars. If I click this button here, it's going to bring it over to 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I click it over again, it's going to be 16. You could just keep doubling it. If I click this button off, it's going to deactivate the loop. So the whole idea is that whatever value you set to here is going to be your default. So since it's currently 8, it's just going to show 8 beats. And if you're a new DJ, I would recommend that setting because it's a great starting point. This last option here is loop roll default. And right now it's at 0.25. So if you've never seen loop roll used before, it's different than a normal loop. A regular loop repeats the audio. A loop roll temporarily repeats the audio, but the song keeps moving forward underneath. When you release it, the song jumps back to where it would have been. So, let's show you an example of that.
Could you speak up and stop my mumbling? I don't think you give it to me. Wanna see what's in it, give it to me. Wanna see what's in it, way up here. I saw you trying to act cute. Wanna see what's in it, give it to me. Wanna see what's in it, give it to me. Last weekend, that's right, you wasn't there. It's a sex.
All right, so for this example, if I click the beat jump button here on my controller, it's going to take me to my beat jump pads. I'm going to load a track up. And so you could see here, my beat jump pads are laid out like so. So if I click this forward 4 beats, it's going to take me forward 4 beats in the track. And it's going to keep it exactly synced up where it should be. If I want to go 8 beats, I'm going to click that, forward 8 beats. If I want to go back 8 beats, I'm going to click this button. If I want to go 1 beat back, 1 beat forward, and so on. And the setting I like to use by default is going to be 4, just because I think it makes it really easy to jump around the track in 4 beats. Most tracks are laid out phrasing-wise in 4 bars. So I like to just keep it there at 4. So that's everything related to the loop settings in VirtualDJ. Next, we're going to move into tempo and pitch settings, where we're going to cover master tempo, pitch range, auto pitch range, pitch reset, vinyl mode, and some other settings that can completely change how your controller feels.